Steve DeRocco, first person in. What is happening? Welcome. Don Haas holding in here. Haas, what is up? Good morning. Along with Steve DeRocco. Tracy Bogert. Yeah, that's good news, Tracy. Cowboys can use them. Don't want to lose this game. Don't want to fall to a game and a half ahead of Washington. Then if Washington wins this weekend, they could cut it to 1. And they've got 2 head-to-head games coming up. Glory, glory, hallelujah, and praise be to the football gods on high, among them Thomas Wade Landry. Praise Tom Landry. I am the founding member of the PTL Club. Of course, PTL stands for Praise Tom Landry. Forget about that. Who was that guy? Who the original founder of the quote-unquote PTL Club? Jim Baker, the Reverend Jim Baker. Husband of Tammy Faye. He had his own PTL club, but mine is much cooler, where we praise Tom Landry and all that is good and all that is football, as tonight the football gods smile upon us and shower not only football blessings upon us, but Dallas Cowboys, America's team, Thursday night football blessings to start an amazing football weekend that will lead us to many conference championship games, including one in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome tomorrow night. Tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. It's only a day away. UTSA versus Western Kentucky, 6 o'clock tomorrow night in the Conference USA Championship game. We'll talk about that just after 8:30 with the voice of UTSA Athletics, Andy Everett. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, you're dragging a little bit this morning, I hear, because you were out late last night. You were partying last night. You are usually in bed by 8 p.m., but you were out rocking last night.
The show I went to didn't even start until 8 p.m. last night out in Buda at Mavericks. It was our Case 101 acoustic Christmas show. It was fantastic. It was wonderful. Had a great time. I still left early. I'm not above leaving early just because it's a station event, and didn't make it home till a little after 11:30. So yeah, it was a late one for me, and on a Wednesday night, no less. But I'm excited for another late one tonight with the Cowboys. I do have one issue with it being Thursday. I always love seeing the Cowboys in prime time because they are
Yeah.
America's team and they do deserve it week in and week out. But given that Texas football season is over, Cowboys playing on Thursday, I think my weekend might feel empty. I know there's plenty of great games on to watch in both leagues, but I kind of am like, what am I going to do with myself? Like, there's nothing officially pinned to my schedule, especially with this Cowboys game being tonight.
I got one for you because you are a closet, not so, you're an out of the closet AFC Buffalo Bills fan. Don't we have Patriots Bills on Sunday? I gotta check the time on that one. But that's that's a big one. Granted, it's not Cowboys, but it's
no,
big.
It's not.
No, it's not.
It's big.
What you just said? No, it's not. Oh, no, it's not Cowboys. I thought
no,
it's not Cowboys, but it's big. And then you said no, it's not. Wait, it's not.
Oh yeah, sorry. We still have a delay issue between us that's going on. That's being worked on. That I text people about every day.
Yeah, which is weird. And again, pulling back the curtain for our radio and video people, some people joining us this morning. And good morning to everybody on radio and on the live video feed. But yeah, there's like a slight delay. So when Shannon was in studio here a few weeks ago, it's easier if you're having a face-to-face conversation with someone or even a radio conversation where there's not a delay. But yeah, the delay causes some challenges. But we roll with it. I'm pulling up my trusty weekend schedule. Oh, that's a Monday night game. I lied.
Okay.
It's Monday, but it's still fine. That's our dessert. We're having the entree early tonight, which is Dallas Cowboys versus New Orleans Saints. We're kind of doing it out of order. Yeah, I guess. So yeah, well, we're just gonna eat a lot of appetizers. We're gonna eat a lot of chips and salsa, some nachos, some salads. What would normally be appetizers. Certainly, but if you think about it, and okay, well, let me just see. So, all right, tonight, Cowboys Saints, huge because it's Cowboys. By the way, there's also a big Spurs game, so I'm going to be multitasking tonight, Shannon. I'm going to be in the studio with Bill Schoening in my ear on the Spurs radio network as the Spurs are in Portland. Although that game won't tip off till the second half of Cowboys Saints. It's a 9:10 tip off. Because it's a West Coast game. So, all right. But football-wise, Cowboys Saints tonight, big. Tomorrow night, UTSA versus Western Kentucky, big. It's the conference championship. It's the biggest game in UTSA history. We'll talk more about that with Andy Everett. So now Sunday, I'm trying to see if there's a big game since the Bills and the Patriots are Monday night. I'm scrolling through the NFL schedule. Buccaneers, Falcons, no, although I love Tom Brady. Chargers, Bengals, no. Giants, Dolphins, of course, no. Colts, Texans, I don't think so. Washington football team at the Las Vegas Raiders all of a sudden now, because Washington is 2 games behind the Cowboys with 2 head-to-head games still remaining on the schedule. I guess we need to pay attention to Washington, especially if the Cowboys lose tonight, God forbid. And we'll talk a lot of Cowboys today. So, but nothing else. Ravens Steelers used to be big. It's not anymore. Steelers are now 5-5-1. Jaguars Rams would have been big. Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence versus Matthew Stafford looked better earlier in the season. I guess maybe your Sunday night game, Shannon, on NBC from Arrowhead Stadium, 6-5 Broncos versus 7-4 Chiefs in a battle of 2 AFC West teams that beat the Cowboys. I don't know. Maybe that's our marquee game for. Plus on Sunday we get the final college football playoff voting, so we add that to the Sunday football mix.
Yeah, that Broncos Chiefs one is interesting because when you do look at their records, Broncos 6-5, Chiefs 7-4. It does have some appeal to it. Obviously, the Chiefs have gone from worst to first in that division now that they're playing like the Chiefs of old. But that line, Chris, and this is a lot for an NFL game, is a 9.5 in favor of the Chiefs.
That's
So
big.
I don't know how great of a game it's actually going to be if we are getting the Chiefs that we are so accustomed to.
Yeah, and I always say anything approaching 10, certainly 10, a 10-point spread in the National Football League is crazy. Now, all right, Shannon, I'm rattling through all the big games of the weekend, and I'm looking through our. It used to be a window back in the old days of radio. Now it's a virtual window. Jeremy Kolak is probably who's been working round the clock. By the way, I turned on the Mike Taylor show yesterday, and there's Jeremy with Dylan Emery, the blue collar sports dad. But Saturday morning on Saturday, number 9 Baylor versus number 5 Oklahoma State, Jeremy's team, AT&T Stadium at Jerry World. Jeremy, you got to be pretty geeked up about that. You win that game for Oklahoma State, and you get a little bit of help. And Mike Gundy and your beloved Oklahoma State Cowboys could be headed to the college football playoff. How do you feel about the Big 12 championship game, and how do you feel about Oklahoma State's chances to maybe back into the playoff?
I am very cautiously optimistic. They're very excited, very amped up, kind of like you said.
You sound amped up. You sound like
I mean, today's Cowboys.
You sound like you're bouncing off the walls.
Today's Cowboys game day. So I mean, how could you not be amped up this morning? I'm worried because this is such a game that Baylor could come out and dismantle us. I mean, it just feels like that, and I mean that would just be such a gross taste in the mouth in my mouth, in our mouth, to finish this season, at least going into whatever bowl game we would get after that. But I'm trying not to think big picture like college football playoff, because we still probably, or at least maybe, need things to happen, such as Alabama losing a second time.
Well, and that's likely, though, isn't it?
Against Georgia? That's where I don't even want to. I don't know. We got to play the football game. You know what I mean? But yeah. I would absolutely love to walk away with a Big 12 championship. I would love that. That would make my year. And then, just see what happens from there.
You just want
and Shannon, as he brought up earlier, for Oklahoma State or Baylor, but in this case, Oklahoma State to win a Big 12 championship in a year when, years from now, Oklahoma and Texas will be in the SEC. To have done it this year, when Lincoln Riley was in his final year at Oklahoma, and they came in favored with Spencer Rattler, supposed to be your Heisman Trophy winner and your number 1 overall draft pick, and to beat them in Bedlam, and to win it this year when Sark is at Texas. I know it's his first year, so not really fair against all the years Mike Gundy has been at Oklahoma State. And Shannon, you look at just this week in Oklahoma football with Lincoln Riley jumping ship to USC just hours after Oklahoma State beat them in the Bedlam game. If Oklahoma State now wins the Big 12 championship, and if Alabama loses and that puts Oklahoma State into the college football playoff, Oklahoma State can start saying, at least for now, hey, we're the kings of football in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, absolutely. It would certainly set the tone for when Texas and Oklahoma do make that jump to the SEC, and it'll set the tone for the next season. Should the Big 12 still remain intact? They've always said to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. Well, the champ didn't even show up this time around in Oklahoma. Oklahoma State filling that spot. Now, Jeremy, to make you feel a little bit better, currently Oklahoma State favored by 5.5. But I do worry, as you said, this could be a game that Baylor does show up and show out in. I think they've played numerous times in Jerry's World, and being so close to Waco, Oklahoma State pretty close too, but compared to Waco, it's right down the street. I think there might be a little bit of a home field advantage. So I'll be interested to see just how well both teams travel, and if Oklahoma State can bring an appearance. But Jeremy, you're going to get a shirt, right? Like Monday morning, I expect a new T-shirt. Should Oklahoma State win?
Yeah, if we win. Because
that's a Texas game I haven't had one in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even been to Arlington since they started actually having the championship game, because our only Big 12 championship is 2011, and that was just an outright championship. But I mean, I said I'm cautiously optimistic. I am worried every game. Obviously, we have a good defense, but we have a turnover-prone quarterback, and that is the most terrifying thing in college football. Just going into every game knowing that, like, yeah, he's pretty good, but he has a turnover problem because that you give games away when you lose turnover differential.
Going to be interesting. That's
why I'm
ABC.
worried.
Yeah, you don't sound confident at all, which is amazing because Oklahoma State ranked at number 5. You know, Baylor number 9, Oklahoma State 11-1 overall, Baylor 10-2. We know Baylor's very, very good, but I just, especially coming off the win over Oklahoma, and especially what happened this week with Lincoln Riley jumping ship, it just seems an opportunity for Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy to really assert themselves. Plus, if you win this game, I would think recruiting in this recruiting cycle now, already a lot of Oklahoma players have decommitted, but I think it would be an opportunity as well for Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State to pick off some recruits that might have been headed to Oklahoma. Just it's going to be fascinating to keep an eye on that. And Shannon, if Alabama loses to Georgia, and I know some people are already saying, well, what if it's a close game? Still, if Alabama has 2 losses and Oklahoma State beats number 9 Baylor and has 1 loss, I'm sick of it. We have to quit catering to Alabama. Alabama should have beaten Texas A&M at College Station earlier in the year. They got a loss there. They did not. If Alabama's only loss was to juggernaut, unbeatable Georgia, then you can make that case to me with 1 loss. Ooh, your only loss was to the golden gods of football in 2021, the Georgia Bulldogs. But if they've got 2 losses and Oklahoma State has 1, Oklahoma State should be in that playoff, not Alabama. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree 1,000%. I too am tired. I think they'll be held to be raised if they do lose to Georgia and do still find themselves in that top 4, especially with a win from either Cincinnati or Oklahoma State and convincing wins. I mean, we talked yesterday about, the quality wins and quality losses. Alabama losing to Georgia, I can see some people arguing, well, it is Georgia, so it's a quality loss. Well, not if they beat you by multiple touchdowns. So definitely you talk about entrees, appetizers, and the desserts. This one, I think dinner is going to be fed to us early at what is that, 2 p.m. start this weekend for
and I guess that
Georgia?
is something to pull for. Pull for Georgia to annihilate Alabama to make sure we get them out of the college football playoff. I like that.
Come on, Georgia.
All right.
Go Bulldogs.
Woo! Little Michael Jackson in the background as we go to break, but we got a lot coming at you. We're going to talk a lot of Dallas Cowboys this morning, as we should, as they play tonight, Thursday night football at New Orleans against the Saints. We've got a number of lineup updates for both the Cowboys and the Saints we will get to and we will analyze with you. You're welcome to join us all morning long. 800-707-9760 is the phone number. Phone line is open to you all morning long. Just after 8 o'clock, we'll talk all things football with James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Just after 8:30, Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA football and athletics. Coming up in just a few moments, the high 5 play of the day and a whole lot more. Thanks for hanging out with us on a football Thursday morning. Jeremy Kolak making the show go. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. Beth Settle, good morning. You are in here early. Everybody who's in here right now is in here early. Louisa, Tracy Bogert, Hector Gomez, James Rippey, Jason Paniagua, Ralph Balderas. Facebook tells me it is your birthday, sir. So let me do a big in caps message, and we'll say it on the air, Ralph, since you're with us now. So yeah, I had the presence of mind. There you go. Aaron Rodgers and myself I had the presence of mind to check Facebook this morning, and it showed me it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Ralph. We'll do that on the air here as we come back. You and Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I've got my sports birthday. You, Aaron Rodgers, Willie Brown, and Monica Seles. Those are the 3 sports birthdays today. And of course, and I got it written down, Ralph, don't think I'm not prepared for the show. There's the Ralph Balderas birthday. Got it going on, man. Woo! Woo! All right, I'm going to get a little more ice for my iced tea. Pure Leaf. You know, if Ryan Leaf would have just had a good NFL, lived up to his expectation, Ryan Leaf could be on the Pure Leaf iced tea. This could be just huge. And if he turned out to be Peyton Manning or something, like, man, I want to be like Ryan Leaf. I want to drink some of that Pure Leaf iced tea. Woo! All right. What a cool thought. Ralph on his birthday says, may my blessings be passed on to everyone today. That is just a very cool thought. Thank you, sir.
Congrats. Back in the 6th grade, I got the bad grades. I was
just when you thought your life couldn't get any more.
All right, I'll be back in a second. First, I'm going to read James's. James says, imagine how chaotic the college football playoff would become if Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma State. I look at OSU, and I see that sometimes. All lose on Saturday. Oh, how sweet and wonderful chaos would ensue. Yes, but that would benefit Alabama. But you're right. That would be chaotic and fun.
Actually, with the all-new Nissan Frontier, you know a bunch of them. But the key to these great spots, being able to reach them in the first place. Your spot is out there. Find your Frontier in the all-new 2022 Nissan Frontier, with standard 310 horsepower, advanced tech, and 281 pound-foot of torque. BC Powder knows life pushes us to the max. Work to the max. Family to the max. It can all mean pain to the max. So BC introduces new BC Max Strength. New BC Max relieves tough headaches and body pain at the speed of powder. Nothing stronger on pain without a prescription. Pain to the max. New BC Max. In a great tasting lemonade flavor.
Today's episode is sponsored by Discover. Hey everybody, this is Dr. Lori Sessions. We all know that material possessions aren't necessarily the answer to happiness.
Woo!
Most material possessions can be a necessity. Clothing when you're down, a necessity. Nursing materials for your newborn baby.
Yeah, I didn't mention that in the first segment, Tracy, but you're right. The Major League Baseball lockout is underway.
getting a little time.
Let's see. I need
Discover Card is accepted nationwide at 99% places.
to record some spots this morning, so I gotta do a little research here. Let's see. What was that?
Spending on vacations, ordering takeout, or even investing in some software. Ultimately, you can be earning cash back on most of the spending that you're already doing day to day. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply. 2021 Nielsen Report.
Inspired by State Farm's surprisingly great rates.
It's so cheap. Yeah, I got a craving on an hour. Cause steak isn't your average Joe.
Like a movie, State Farm's.
I'm Dr. Andrea Russo, a cardiologist. Maybe you're waiting to talk to your doctor right now, but if you're having an irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, don't wait. This could be a serious condition like atrial fibrillation, which can make you about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you're having these symptoms, don't wait. Talk to a doctor by phone, online, or in person.
Brought to you by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
High prices don't get you a great network. A great network gets you a great network. It's why Total Wireless runs on the largest, most dependable network, now with 5G. And for a limited time, we're doubling your high-speed data on our $35 unlimited plan from 5 gigs to 10. So you can double your vision, your scrolling, your everything. Total Wireless, do amazing. Available at Target. Capable device and SIM required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. Offer ends 12/31/2021. First 10 gigs at high speed, then 2G. Terms and conditions at totalwireless.com/terms.
Okay. Here we come. All right, Ralph. All of the airwaves shall know it's your birthday.
Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jump in by dialing 1-800-707-9760.
And time keeps dragging on.
Yeah.
But that train keeps rolling on down to San Antone.
Thank you, Johnny Cash, for the San Antone reference. Jeremy Kolock. I don't think anybody's played Johnny Cash rejoin music on this show before, and it's about damn time. I love Johnny Cash. That is so cool. And I like Shannon, two things. Number one, Johnny Cash said San Antone. I remember, and I've said this before, and this hasn't caught on, but it should have. Back in the 70s, in the ABA, George Gervin would be doing interviews as he played for the Spurs, and, he'd be talking about, like, home court advantage, and, the Spurs would be on the road, and he goes, yeah, it's going to get a lot better because we're going back to the tone. San Antone, the tone. That's so cool, and it came from Gervin, the Iceman. We should be calling yeah, man, I live in the tone. Not just the 210. I live in the tone. San Antone. Anyway, it never caught on. Should have.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I can do San Antone. I know a lot of people, including myself, who've referred to San Antonio as such, San Antone, but the tone, I think that's maybe too much is missing from that.
The tone. I think
maybe
it's so cool.
Some questions arising.
Especially because it came from Gervin. That just makes it even cooler for me. All right, a couple of things before we get to the high five play of the day. First and foremost, a happy birthday. One of our regular participants in the show, and he's in there right now on the live video feed. If you're new to the show, we've got a live video feed, multiple platforms to go access it. Facebook Live, AM 1300, The Zone, Ticket 760's Facebook pages or their Twitter pages. There's a YouTube weigh in as well. Ralph Balderas is celebrating his birthday today on this December 2nd. So a huge radio and internet and global shout out to Ralph Balderas and a happy birthday to Ralph. That's very, very cool. So it's cool that we love all of our listeners and all of the people who are part of the show, but we see Ralph most mornings in here. So great to wish him a happy birthday.
And Ralph also coming through with the traffic heads up, saying it's pretty foggy out there. And that's very much the same in Austin, pretty foggy on my way to work this morning. So drive safe, folks.
Absolutely. Be very, very safe. Let's see. Again, before the high five play of the day, I don't think we mentioned it in the first half hour because we were talking so much football and college football playoffs and Cowboys and Saints. But midnight last night, I think Eastern time, the baseball lockout is underway. We will get into that. There were some last minute moves on signings of players and free agent signings, none involving Carlos Correa. But Shannon, that's something with so much uncertainty and mystery as to whether or not this baseball lockout is going to extend to the spring and the baseball season. And there's some people saying there will be no baseball season in 2022, which I think would be catastrophic for the game of baseball. Yeah. But there are some people predicting that. I don't know why you go and sign, Max Scherzer got all this money. I don't know why you would go throw a lot of money at a player. And, the Rangers have spent like $500 million in the last week when there's still uncertainty as to whether or not we're going to have a season. What do you think about that? Do you understand why some of these guys are being signed before we know how long this lockout's going to last?
I really don't. And in reading a little bit of what the players are wanting out of this agreement, the players agreement that's, part of the lockout, is there's a luxury tax, and the tax, the number that you're taxed, the percentage that you're taxed is like based on how often you're having to use it, I guess. And so I don't know if the changes that they want from that would then allow maybe other teams to throw more money at players, because those teams then wouldn't be taxed as much for doing so. So to me, it sounds like it would benefit players as well as the teams around the league to wait this one out. We need to get Scott Manziera, because I know when we brought up the potential lockout during the playoffs, he didn't want to go there, but we're here now, and I think we need to talk about it.
All right, we will grab him either and probably tomorrow to talk about this. And of course, your buddy, and you did the Mike Taylor show with him, Mike Hardball Harge. We'll grab him again as well as a great expert
he was part
on
of
baseball.
He was part of the last lockout in 1994.
Yes. So lots and lots to talk about there. All right. We will dive back into everything going on in the world of sports today. So much of it involves football, and it should, as God intended it. Dallas Cowboys taking on the New Orleans Saints tonight on Thursday Night Football. We'll dive into that, all the weekend conference championships, college football games, and the college football playoff implications. We will know on Sunday who's going to the college football playoff. But first, we do this every morning at this time because we should, because we like handing out high fives and saying to people, you did a good thing. You deserve a high five for what you did. It's the high five play of the day, appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. Great. So much going on at any of those 2 High Five locations. Big screen TVs everywhere, so you can watch all the sports you want. Watch the Cowboys tonight, Thursday Night Football. You can watch Spurs Portland tonight, as well as so much more. Great food, great drinks, food specials, drink specials, great games, a gazillion games you can play, bowling, laser tag, axe throwing, and so much more. High Five in the Austin area. Go check out one of the 2. Go check out both locations. See which one you like best. Shannon, who is deserving of a high five this morning?
Well, we are in the holiday season. The season of giving continues. We've talked about a few athletes who are very well known and giving back to their communities and to those that they come across just out of the goodness of their heart. And we've got yet another one, this one from a former Pro Bowler, Mr. Chad Johnson, aka Ocho Cinco, whatever he's going by these days. He was recently at a bar at an international mall. He sat down. I guess he had a couple of drinks because his total bill was over $100, and he ended up leaving a $1,000 tip for his server. He tweeted it out that he was at this bar, that he hadn't been to any of those type of eateries since his days in Cincinnati. So maybe he was just reminiscing a little bit and just felt that holiday spirit come over him. And he said, "My server has no clue. Christmas is coming early." This was on the 26th, which I believe was, yes, Black Friday.
Nice.
He wrote out the bill. He put the $1,000 on there. The server immediately came back and asked if it was a mistake. He said, "No, go get your Black Friday shopping done." And that's what Miss Ashby, the female server, says she's going to do, that she's going to use it to make her Christmas for her son the most memorable yet. So a high five to Chad Ocho Cinco for doing good and just, seeing her work hard and work on a Black Friday, which, as we know, there's some people who go out and do Black Friday aren't the kindest of humans. They want whatever that item is much more than they care about the feelings of who is providing that item. They didn't make the item. They're not responsible for the item being in stock. They're just there to help you out. And in this case, I'm sure a lot of people after they've shopped or before they've shopped have hit up the bars. So great job, Chad. Good on you. And you've had some times in the media where it's like, I don't know about that, but this is a good one.
And I'm looking at the story, and again, to underscore, this was a single mom waiting on him that he gave the $1,000 tip to as a gift for her to do Christmas shopping. Her name was Kayla Ashby, and there's a photo. Her son's is Zaith, Zaith. Never heard of that name before, but there's a photo of Kayla and her son. And again, just a cool thing to do. And I know Chad Ocho Cinco obviously was kind of brash, very egotistical, very flamboyant. But a lot of wide receivers are, and I remember one of the Hard Knocks. And what was he said? He had a phrase, Shannon, in one of the Hard Knocks. It was something like, and people will tell me if I get this wrong. It was something like "child, please," and it really meant an expletive. So I may have the phrase wrong. It was something like "child, please," and he'd say it to coaches. Coaches would correct him on the football field during training camp, and he'd say something to them like "child, please," and he told the Hard Knocks. He told the Hard Knocks crew it really meant kind of an expletive, almost like a almost like an F-bomb at you. So,
Yeah.
but just
I
very,
am
very
saying
funny.
English child, please, so great memory.
Okay. Oh, good. The memory working here at 6:47 in the morning. But good on him. I'm curious, and I just checked his Wikipedia, and there's no clear guidance. I wonder what Chad Ochocinco is doing now, because he seems like he would have been a great television analyst on some level, or a football talk or a sports talking head on one of the sports talk shows. It says that he did for a while when Hugh Jackson was head coach of the Cleveland Browns. He came in and worked with their receivers. So maybe he aspires to get into coaching. But I'm curious, somebody with as big a personality as Chad Ochocinco, what he's doing post football, what's going to be the next big thing in his life. It'll be interesting to find out. And of course, we now know the most recent thing in his life was doing something really, really cool for a single mom during the holidays. You got to love that.
Well, and he was on that May 3rd undercard between Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul. So he's one of those former athletes who has gotten into the ring. We haven't heard from him since, like you said. So who knows if that was maybe just a one-time affair for him? But who knows? Athletes, it's hard to walk away.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now, we talked earlier this week, Shannon, about Robert Griffin III. He has written this book called Surviving Washington, which apparently is going to be a tell-all book about the dysfunctional Washington football team franchise. And now we're hearing reports that Robert Griffin III, a lot of sexual harassment allegations involving that Washington football team, mainly from, but not only from the cheerleaders. There were just strange and wrong incidents that are alleged, such as like at company parties, at a big hotel ballroom. One of the cheerleaders was told, "Hey man, that guy's a big investor in the team. Why don't you go up to his room and entertain him?" Things like that. Also female staffers who worked with the Washington football team. But now, Shannon, Robert Griffin III apparently claiming he was sexually harassed while at Washington. That's a little that makes you wonder who sexual, and could it have been Daniel Snyder? I mean, that's that could be a whole new level of strangeness in the saga of this Washington football team once that comes out, and of course, if proven true.
Yeah, and that revelation, it just makes me sad. I mean, the whole thing with Washington is already sad, and for him to knowing what we already know, what he went through during his time in Washington, and to add that to it, it's horrible. We talked yesterday about, he said he would bring up the sexual harassment that's gone on within that organization in his book. At first, he wasn't specific that it was, or there was some towards him. So my question was, how does he have this information and it not kind of be used legally against him? And then when this kind of came out that he may have been one of those victims, it kind of makes a little more sense in a way, that he's telling his side of the story. And I'm sure, like we talked yesterday, money will hush people and powerful people will hush those with less. And that may be the situation that he was in.
Yeah, and a lot of people lose sight of that men can be sexually harassed as well, and certainly boys can be, but men can be. Obviously, the lion's share of sexual harassment seems to be directed at women, and when obviously we hear a lot about those stories, but it will be interesting to see. And I did see, and Shannon, you kind of predicted this. You're writing this story and you say it's a tell-all book, and it's still not out yet, and it's not going to be out for several months, yet you're hyping it, yet you're telling us, I'm going to tell you tales of sexual harassment that you don't even know yet about the Washington football team. The criticism has already begun toward Robert Griffin III, where people are saying, hey, if you're sitting on this information and you've been sitting on this information, then you're part of the problem. You should, when you knew this information existed and there were victims of sexual harassment, as a result of the hierarchy of this Washington football team, it was incumbent upon you to come forward and bring this information to light. It does, though, now, if he was the victim and that's the sexual harassment he's talking about, that takes this to a whole new level and kind of creates a little bit more understanding. Because as we've learned over the years, a lot of people go, "Oh, you said you were sexually harassed 5 years ago or sexually assaulted. Why are you speaking now?" Well, obviously, it involves deep psychological pain and issues and sometimes shame and fear. You just mentioned, Shannon, people in power can threaten to destroy your career. So, yeah, I mean, if this is true, that's a whole different scene going on.
Yeah, and his actual statement on Twitter, because Pro Football Talk on Twitter, verified account that does a great job of talking about sports stories, they did kind of have an article about, okay, he says he's going to talk about sexual harassment at Washington. Why is he just not coming forward with it? And so Robert Griffin responded, and this is what he said: "Sexual harassment victims should share their stories when they are ready, not when you want them to. The book is not about others' experiences with sexual harassment in Washington. It's about my experience with sexual harassment in Washington. Hopefully you will listen."
Boom. There you have it. Wow. That's this is potentially incendiary, and you just wonder, and we'll talk more about this a little bit later as we're up against the break. You just wonder, Daniel Snyder and that ownership group teetering with all kinds of other allegations, if this might just be the tipping point that makes the NFL do something in a big way to sanction him and that team. Quick break. Lots more coming. Lots of Cowboys talk. Cowboys Saints tonight. Keep it here on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Woo! Wow. West End Girls. Jeremy goes out on. He came in with some Johnny Cash. Very nice. All right. Oh, I got to record some spots. Let me bang that out. John Williams said, "How about a high five for Elf Louise?" Absolutely. That's always a good thing. Let's see here. Hey, Jeremy, I've got to record some spots. I'm going to do some here and then a little later in the show. I know you don't keep me up, but to do it, I have to turn my mic on. So if I were up, it would go out. So cool, man. Thanks so much. Great music in and out there. I couldn't believe you went with like West End Girls on the way out and Johnny Cash on the way in. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you. All right. Now, let's see if I get this. Check. 1, 2, 3. Check. Yep, that's working. I am going to mute myself just for a couple of minutes while I bang these spots out, so that you don't have to be bombarded with my commercial messages, some of which are multiple takes. I have to do 3 separate spots. So I'm going to go mute here for just a sec. Let's see. Okay, there's that. Let me find that.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Good morning, Jesse Bratton. I'm finishing editing one more spot here. Let's see. That's the 10th. Boom. Let's see. Okay. Woo! Here we come.
This is the Chris Duel Show. Now, Chris Duel.
Let the weekend begin. Let us participate in the holy sacrament of football. And it gets good, if not great, right out of the gate tonight as our football weekend begins with America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, tonight, Thursday night football in New Orleans. The Dallas Cowboys against the New Orleans Saints. One of the many football issues, topics, stories, games we are talking about, and so many Cowboy fans and so many hardcore Cowboy fans, including myself, including Shannon Salty Sweeney, and Jeremy Kolak. I'm assuming, I mean, we know you're an Oklahoma State fan. I'm just assuming you're a Cowboys fan. I don't know if we've actually specifically had that discussion yet.
Yes, sir.
You are?
Yes, sir.
They're your favorite team?
Yes.
Good man. You were raised well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's America's team.
Yes, exactly. And a double Cowboys fan, Oklahoma State Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys. And people just say, hey, man, who do you like? Oh, the Cowboys.
It's kind of worked out over the years. I mean, when I was younger, Des Bryant was the man, you know what I mean? And then we just keep bringing in random dudes like Jarwin and whoever. And then, yeah, I'm completely fine with it. It works out for me. Dan Bailey back in the day, legend.
Very cool. Very cool. So I like you even more now. I mean, so now, I mean, thankfully
you can stay.
Yeah, you can stay. I mean,
that's a relief.
You know, no disrespect to the great Dave Ayler, who is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but you know, we love Dave, but he's a Steelers fan. So there's that. So it's nice to have an all Cowboy fan crew. So therefore, obviously, even if Dave were here and Jeremy were not, especially on a game day / game night, we would talk a lot of Dallas Cowboys. And Shannon, a lot of personnel updates, not only among players, but among coaches going into this game. There was question earlier this week who would start at quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Now we know there was question, especially at wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. That's been an issue, especially in this 2-game losing streak and having lost 3 of their last 4 for the Dallas Cowboys, and the coaching issue for the Cowboys with Mike McCarthy and others out with health and safety protocol / COVID-19 issues. So, Shannon, where do you want to start on so many fronts, personnel-wise, including or for tonight's Cowboys-Saints game?
I think the biggest thing is getting those wide receivers back in CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. I mean, we talked about prior to them being out, they were receiving 48% of Dak's pass attempts, which is a lot. And they're guys who make big plays and are great at getting separation. And Cowboys really struggled offensively without them through the past few weeks. So you would figure that that would automatically, be an uptick for the Dallas Cowboys. We're 100% on Amari, right? Because I still see some people saying, well, we don't know, he's still questionable.
Well, the word is that, I think so. I mean, he's off the COVID list, which was the big, the reason he was out. So, but I've also heard, but I heard this a couple of days ago that, I mean, he's really had difficulty with COVID. He really he was going through it. Some people test positive for COVID and they have no symptoms. Apparently, Amari Cooper had a difficult time with it. So that is a very good question. I'm hearing he's back, but we'll search throughout the morning and this half hour in particular to see if we get an absolute confirmation from either the Cowboys or one of the serious hardcore beat writers for the Dallas Cowboys. Will scour their social media and reporting to see if that's true. But I do believe that's the case. And my goodness, I got to believe Amari Cooper, if he has any heart, is highly motivated to get back out there on the field for the Dallas Cowboys. And I know the Cowboys sure want him back because, I mean, just look at the offensive production dropped off, especially as you mentioned, Shannon, with both of those guys out. If the Cowboys get both of them back tonight, that's a big plus for them.
Yeah, in a way that a good running game will open up your passing game. I think when you add these two guys back into the mix, it'll help Zeke out a lot in that running game. I mean, they are threats when they're on the field. You can't you want both your best guys to be. You wish you had more than one of your best guys to cover these types of players when they're both on the field. So I think it's huge for that offense. You mentioned Mike McCarthy and those assistants that are on the COVID list. And so I don't quite understand this. Maybe you can explain it to me. Ben McAdoo on the up in the stands to help out the Cowboys today. Why and what? I think we're better off without him. I think we're fine.
Yeah. And as a reminder for people who kind of recognize the name but aren't sure, he used to be the Giants head coach from 2016 to 2017. It did not go well. He was most recently with the Jacksonville Jaguars as their quarterback coach last year before Sunshine got there. They have brought him on as a consultant. I can only guess, Shannon, because Dan Quinn, usually we see him up there in the booth as defensive coordinator, where he has an overview of what's going on offensively and defensively, so he can call the defense. Now Dan Quinn comes down to the sideline. I'm guessing maybe Ben McAdoo is up there for a better view. Although, I mean, he's an offensive guy. I look at all of his stops as a coordinator. He was the Giants offensive coordinator. He was the Packers quarterbacks coach, tight end coach. So he's an offensive guy. So I can't imagine he's going to be there as a defensive mind. So that's a great question. But feel safe tonight, Cowboys fans. Ben McAdoo is on the case. The man who did such a great job with the Giants a few years ago.
I mean, with the news of Mike McCarthy not being available and Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore kind of taking over, we didn't really feel like that was much of a hit. And so adding Ben McAdoo is it's why? McAdoo? The strangest thing ever. But it'll be interesting, too, if he sticks around after the fact. I mean, is this a substitute teacher kind of thing? Yeah.
And again, though, I mean, you look at Mike Nolan a year ago, a choice at defensive coordinator for Mike McCarthy. Ben McAdoo now, who doesn't really sizzle or water any of our eyes as a former coach or coordinator. But again, I'm looking at his resume, Shannon. Ben McAdoo was the Green Bay Packers tight ends coach under Mike McCarthy. And then from 2012 to 2013, he was the quarterbacks coach. So, dude coached Aaron Rodgers, you could argue. I don't know how much Aaron Rodgers might have listened to McAdoo, but Ben McAdoo. And this is kind of what happened, Shannon, and this is one of the criticisms of the National Football League quite often. It is the old boy network, where a lot of these coaches and coordinators, if they get fired somewhere, they get recycled. So
why not just go get Jason Garrett? He's available.
Yeah, we're getting somebody. Exactly. We're getting somebody defending Ben McAdoo on our live video stream. Marcus Valdespino. And Marcus, I know Marcus, and Marcus used to work here at Ticket 760 a number of years ago. Marcus has written a book, and he's a big sports guy. Marcus writing, before Ben McAdoo came to the New York Giants, Eli Manning's completion percentage was under 60%. Ben McAdoo got that way above 60% during his tenure. So maybe Ben McAdoo is a quarterback whisperer, but you look at this Cowboys offense, Shannon, and Kellen Moore, when they're at full strength and when CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper are playing, it doesn't look necessarily like we need a whole lot of offensive help with that, with Kellen Moore and that Dallas Cowboys offense. So it is interesting that Ben McAdoo is there. Do want to pass this along I wanted to say this as well. You were talking about how Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb will help open up the running game for the Cowboys, and I totally agree with you on that. And I think they also open up the passing game to you mentioned Blake Jarwin earlier, Jeremy, Dalton Schultz as well, who's having a big year catching the football at tight end. When you've got the deep threats stretching out the field vertically for the Cowboys in Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, in the wake of all of that vertical threat, I think that opens up your tight ends going over the middle, Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarwin. I think it opens up your running backs going over the middle and your other slot wide receivers. So, a huge difference, not only the big plays and the vertical plays that Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb can make for the Cowboys, but their very presence on that field, the threat that they cause to the opposing defense, just opens things up. So that's a big deal. Something else we haven't mentioned yet, but it is a big development for the New Orleans Saints, and I believe an upgrade for them just because he's been there so long and because he is dynamic, and if he is on fire tonight, he'll be a factor. Taysom Hill will get the start for the New Orleans Saints tonight. Shannon, how do you feel about that?
I don't know that it scares me. I mean, I'm still so used to, you play the Saints, you play Drew Brees. So still in that kind of figuring out mode. Now, given that it took them this late in the week to come out and say, okay, he's our starter, do you think there's a chance we see anybody else take that role, or maybe he's on a short leash?
I would think that's a great question. And he is one of these guys, and most people look at him as a utility player, as kind of a gimmick player. And that's kind of what he did when Drew Brees was there. When he's on, he's dynamic. Now, Trevor Siemian has started, I think, about the last 3 games since the Jameis Winston injury. I would assume he probably is on a short leash, Shannon. I mean, obviously, the Saints want to go with whoever can help them win the game. They've had about 3 games now to look at Trevor Siemian. And as we've discussed, they lost on Thanksgiving night to the Buffalo Bills. So I think going into this game, they feel that what Taysom Hill brings, and part of what he brings is big playability. I think they have a better chance to win with Taysom Hill. But if he just doesn't have it tonight, I agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised to see Trevor Siemian come into that game.
Against the Cowboys takeaway defense, I feel okay with it being Mr. Taysom Hill or even Trevor Siemian. I don't think that's where the Cowboys will lose it if they do. Well,
and again, if all things considered, one rule of thumb in the National Football League is you look at the quarterbacks. Who has the better quarterback on the field? I think we can all agree Dak Prescott versus either or both Taysom Hill or Trevor Siemian of the New Orleans Saints. That's a huge advantage for the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, the other one that comes down to it, and I heard somebody talking about this, and the numbers certainly back it up for the New England Patriots, but across the National Football League, one of the reasons the Patriots are so successful with Mac Jones, a rookie quarterback, is they keep the playbook simple for him. And Bill Belichick has always preached his number one statistic is turnover battle. If we win the turnover battle, if we turn the ball over less than our opponents and we take it away more than they do, we're going to win the football game most nights. I mean, statistically, throughout the National Football League, that is a true statistic. And for the New England Patriots this season, and even through the entire Tom Brady era, it's part of why Brady is so brilliant. He's an efficient quarterback. He doesn't take risks with the football. You look at what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the year before Tom Brady got there. Jameis Winston throwing 30 touchdowns, but 30 interceptions. That'll kill you. So, hopefully Dak Prescott and the Cowboys hold on to the football tonight and don't turn it over. And that defense that you mentioned, Shannon, that has been so great at takeaways, in particular, Trayvon Diggs in the secondary, if they can get some takeaways tonight, that plus we have the huge edge at quarterback. You add those two things together, things could look very, very good for the Dallas Cowboys. But as I've told you, I got a weird feeling about this game tonight. I hope I'm wrong. Hopefully the Cowboys just win by double digits. But I still have my gut feeling that this is going to be a tough game tonight for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I wonder what that is. I mean, maybe because we have seen an off game here or there from Dak. I mean, he's still one of the top quarterbacks in the league. We were talking about pass percentage earlier. He's fourth in the league with 69% pass completion. His touchdown to interception ratio, 22-7. He's got the third highest rating going for him. So definitely winning in the quarterback battle. I think defensively, Cowboys are pretty stacked. I think it's one of those things kind of like Texas football of like all the pieces are there and everyone knows what they should be doing. But for whatever reason, there are these moments in these games in particular where it's just like something, the switch wasn't flipped. They came out on the field and they forgot something in the locker room.
Yes.
So maybe that's where you're getting it, and maybe you'll settle after the first opening drive or something like that. Now with McCarthy not there, do you think if we win the toss, we'll do something stupid like elect to receive and then do nothing?
That's a great question, and I wonder if Dan Quinn, the acting Dallas Cowboys head coach tonight, has marching orders from McCarthy on the coin toss. I wonder if we win the toss, no matter what, we take the ball. That's what we do, man. We're the Cowboys. I mean, I'm hoping Dan Quinn will be able to make his own decision. And conventional wisdom for so long, as you know, and that's why you bring it up, has been if you win the toss, you defer so that you can hopefully get a stop defensively. And at least that way, no matter what the situation is to start the second half, if you're down by 2 touchdowns or if you're up by 1 touchdown, either way, to get the ball second half when you have a better idea for the flow of the game, what you can and cannot do offensively and defensively, it just makes so much sense to defer. One of the many things Mike McCarthy has done this year and does in general that just irks me, Shannon, the win the toss, give us the ball, and then, oh, by the way, at least the last couple of games, we go 3 and out. And you're essentially therefore giving that other team the ball twice to start each half. Exactly. If you go 3 and out, it's like, all right, we defer, or we don't defer. We're going to give you guys the ball second half, and, oh, here's a 3 and out to start the game. You guys go ahead and take the ball. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
And that first 3 and out, I think it was like 3rd and 14, and they ran it, but they ran it nowhere. Like they didn't run it with a purpose. So it really was like, oh, here you go. I don't understand. Everyone knows to defer. And Mike McCarthy is like, yeah, but I'm going to be different. I'm going to stand out. I'm going to look like an idiot, but I'm going to stand out. That'll be interesting tonight to see what happens. And also the timeout situation. Well, we have better clock management skills going on.
Yes. And I got a feeling with Dan Quinn, we will. I did pull up one Cowboys beat reporter for the NFL Network, Michael Gelkin, says, tweeting yesterday, Cowboys wide receiver Amari Cooper is being officially activated from the reserve COVID-19 list. Source says he is expected to return from his 2-game absence tonight against the Saints. Dak Prescott will have Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup on the field together for the third time this season. And Shannon, and again, here we are talking about the Cowboys offense. Think about that. We are deep into this season, and only twice before has this offense had your three I call Michael Gallup a number one receiver because in the threesome, you want him there. Obviously, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb are your top two, but your number three is Michael Gallup. To have those three guys on the field for the Dallas Cowboys tonight, as is being reported, that's a big deal. And hopefully all of the woes that we've gone through with this Dallas Cowboys offense will hopefully be cured tonight, just with the very presence of those receivers who clearly Dak Prescott likes a lot.
Oh, for sure. And I would think, I know Amari's, struggling with the comeback of COVID, but, he missed that game against the Raiders, which for him, I'm sure he had circled on his calendar the second he came out. Not to mention it was Thanksgiving. It's his former team. I think, whether or not you leave a team in a good or bad way, I think you always want to put up a great and one of your best performances. And I think he wants to come out and show out tonight. And then again with CeeDee Lamb, I think with the narrative of the Cowboys right now of like, oh, wait, are they not for real? I think everyone on this team should be feeling like, let's go out and have our best performance, prime time. Let's reset the narrative back to where it was when we were 6-1, that we're legit contenders and, no question that we're going to take the NFC East. And it's a little harder now, but still making that push to potentially be or hopefully be that number one seed in the NFC.
Yeah, and as you say that, Wes Perkins on the live video feed, and Wes, a regular contributor to the show, he calls us quite a bit. He says, honestly, this is not a must-win for the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 2-0 in the division and have really only one tough game after tonight. Got to keep the lead in the division. I love Wes, and Wes has a great sports mind, but Washington is winning football games now. And the Cowboys, yes, you still have to play the Arizona Cardinals later in the year. Then you play a lot of the division. And Shannon, I would argue in any year, division games in the NFC East or any division, but in this case in the NFC East, they're not easy, even when you're better than your opponent. Right. And now all of a sudden, you've got Washington winning football games. You got Washington knocking off Philadelphia. Philadelphia was supposed to be the greater threat than Washington or than the New York Giants coming into this season. I am not nearly as confident as Wes is that tonight's no big. If we lose this one, meh. All right, so we have 5 losses now. We're 7-5. Now we can whip up on the division. I don't think that's a guarantee. What do you think, Shannon?
I don't think it is either, especially, again, perception. The Saints team not been performing well this season, and that would make another team that you should beat on the list of beats you. So I feel must win tonight for sure.
Hopefully the Cowboys won't be in a purple haze. Thank you for playing a little Hendrix there on the way out, Jeremy. Quick break coming up. Shannon's Salty Shakedown. This day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more after the top of the hour. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Also great talk, always great talking football on every level with James, and we will. And just after 8:30, Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA football and UTSA athletics. We'll talk about tomorrow night's Conference USA Championship game at the Alamo Dome. A lot of show coming at you. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Good morning, Jerome Sosa. Jerome Sosa. Marcus Valdespino says, we cannot lose this game. Marcus, I lean more toward your point of view than Wes, although we love Wes and we love all of you. Jerome Sosa says he's going to the UTSA game tomorrow night. Birds up. Way to go, Jerome. Way to support UTSA football tomorrow night. Let me see. Okay, I did those. I got to do a couple more spots. I got to look something up. See, this is the week of. All right. I've got to bang out some spots here. So, yes, Spurs Blazers tonight. Wes, 9:10 tip-off, radio pregame and TV at 8:30. Okay, let's see. All right, I got to record these spots, so I'm going to go mute for just a bit, and then I'll be back before the segment begins. Andy at 8:35, Jerome. Andy Everett at 8:35. So, okay, I'm going to mute real quick. I'll be back off of mute after I do these spots. All right. That's done. I got to save it. Here we come.
Let's get back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Money by Pink Floyd. Another excellent choice by Jeremy Kolak. It's all about the money. That's why we've got a Major League Baseball lockout. Some people say this lockout is going into the spring. It's going to get ugly, and it might cancel the 2022 baseball season. We will see. When a lockout happens in December, we're not that worried yet, but as you and we move into 2022 and we get closer to spring training, people are going to get a little bit nervous, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. I just think it would be devastating to baseball coming off the pandemic, fans and people, consumers, reevaluating how to spend their discretionary income, and baseball, just the nature of the game for 162 regular season games, more and more with short attention spans, is becoming a tougher sell. So I love baseball, especially in October. I hope for the sake of the game and the families it will impact, not just the players, but concession people, support people who work because of baseball. I hope they get this done, and we can just have baseball as we usually do when baseball rolls around again. And Carlos Correa, don't become a Yankee. You're going to be dead to me if you become a New York Yankee, Carlos. Just saying. So there's that coming up. Shannon's Salty Shakedown. And oh, by the way, just after the top of the hour, James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Andy Everett just after 8:30 to talk about tomorrow night's Conference USA game at the Alamo Dome, UTSA versus Western Kentucky. But first, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. And to lead into that, we've got some sports birthdays. And this day in sports history, December 2nd, 1951, future Pro Football Hall of Fame wide receiver Don Hutson has his number 14 jersey retired by the Green Bay Packers. It is the first number retired in Green Bay Packers franchise history. I didn't know that until I saw that today on this day in history. That's a good bar bet. Can you name the first jersey retired in Packer history? It was Don Hutson, number 14, back in 1951. On this day in 1981, pitcher Fernando Valenzuela becomes the third consecutive LA Dodger player to be named National League Rookie of the Year. What a pipeline they had. They had Rick Sutcliffe, Rookie of the Year in 79, Steve Howe, the pitcher, Rookie of the Year in 1980, and Fernando Valenzuela, Rookie of the Year in 1981. Where did he start the baseball season in 1981? At VJ Keefe Field, in San Antonio. He was a San Antonio Dodger. A lot of people saw him play in San Antonio before he was called up to the Dodgers in the bigs. Finally, on this day in 1984, Miami Dolphins quarterback Dan Marino breaks the NFL single-season touchdown passing record with his 37th touchdown pass as the Dolphins lose to the Raiders 45-34. He finishes the season with 48 touchdown passes. That record higher now that we have a passing league in the National Football League. A lot of passing in 1984, but a lot more passing in the NFL in 2021. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1940, Pro Football Hall of Fame cornerback Willie Brown. Willie Brown with a big interception for a touchdown in Super Bowl 11. That footage of that big play was used on the NFL Today on CBS for many, many years. Willie Brown, Super Bowl with the Raiders in 76, 80, and 84. He was an executive with the Broncos and the Oakland Raiders. Willie Brown, born in Yazoo City, Mississippi in 1940. He passed away in 2019. Born on this day in 1973, Yugoslavian American tennis player Monica Seles, a 9-time Grand Slam champion. Monica Seles was born in Novi Sad, Serbia. She's now quite American. By the way, Monica Seles, a big Dallas Cowboys fan. I remember seeing her at Cowboys games quite a bit in the 80s and 90s. Finally, born on this day in 1983, everybody loves him, America's brooding NFL quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Happy birthday, Aaron Rodgers, NFL MVP in 2011, Super Bowl MVP in 2010. Aaron Rodgers, born in Chico, California. And will Aaron Rodgers win his second Super Bowl ring this year? At the moment, it's looking good for the Green Bay Packers. Oh, by the way, I picked Packers Chiefs in the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. We'll see if that happens. That's your sports birthdays and your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, pole assassins, and monkeys, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time for Shannon's Salty Shakedown.
All right, Chris, I wanted to discuss this with you because I don't know if I've been living under a rock. I don't know if it's because I've never been to an NBA All-Star Weekend, but I did not know that there was what they call an NBA crossover event that also goes on during said NBA All-Star Weekend. In fact, tickets went on sale yesterday. You can get them for as low as $30. The All-Star Weekend will be in Cleveland in 2022. And the event is a collaboration between current and former players, celebrities, and influencers during the All-Star Weekend, and they showcase the intersections of basketball, culture through art, fashion, music, technology, and entertainment that surround the day's game. I think it's an awesome concept. I think it's great. But, Chris, I was not aware that this was even a thing. Were you?
I wasn't. It sound, I know they do a lot. Like they do like the NBA experience where you can go and shoot basketballs and, do things. And you stand next to a cardboard cutout of, players. But yeah, no, this sound, and I mean, you think about it. You think about how NBA crosses over into like hip hop with Drake and others, and how it fashion is such a big deal now with the NBA. So yeah, it sounds like a great idea.
It makes a ton of sense, and they have some, if you're local in Cleveland, there's some Cleveland resident incentives to get you there if you can't make it to the actual game to go and experience all of this. Like I said, I think it's great. To me, it almost seems like a miniature South by Southwest of the NBA and the people that
that's a good analogy
intersect throughout that league. I just love it. And I think they actually, in looking into this more, they've done like NBA crossovers in London where they've had a similar event. It just wasn't associated with All-Star Weekend. So it'd be awesome. And I don't know, we're talking to James Allen a little later. They have the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They've obviously got a good thing going for them, but lots of experiences around the Super Bowl. Maybe add one more, something like this. I don't know. All right, we are going to go into the world of football. We did talk some Mac Jones yesterday, but he's back in the news, sir. This time
Mac
taking
is
a
back.
page out of Tom Brady's book. which, I mean, it's not so surprising, right? Tom was the Patriots quarterback for quite some time. Mac Jones, the QB of the future. He has trademarked, sir, MJ10, similar to one TB12. Now, TB12, obviously, it's on everything Tom Brady. He's got his production company. He's got his diet books and special supplements that go along with it. Mac Jones, starting things slow, just going to put these on apparel, beanies, t-shirts, hoodies, things of that nature. My question to you is, MJ10, listen, you just say MJ. The first thing people are going to ask is Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan? I think it would take a while for people to get to Mac Jones. You have the 10 there. Okay, maybe if you're a Patriots fan. How many Super Bowls do you think he needs to win for MJ10 to really take off for him?
Quite a few. And see, and I run into this anytime you say JT, I think you're talking about James Taylor. So, and of course for you, it's Justin Timberlake. I got mixed emotions about this. First, to answer your question, yeah, win at least one Super Bowl before you start getting cocky with your MJ10 line. I mean, it is kind of cute because Tom Brady TB12, and now I'm the quarterback, so I must be MJ10. So, and as you say, for Patriots fans, now you want to go all in on Mac Jones, so maybe they do buy some of this, the beanies and some of the gear. But it's like Mac Jones, I would say you're having a great year as a rookie. Don't get too cocky too early. As Bill Parcells early said about Tony Romo, let's not anoint him too fast. Seems to me, Shannon, Mac Jones is anointing himself a little too soon as a kind of too big of a deal. I would get through rookie season and see how deep you can get with the Patriots and maybe look into this in the offseason personally.
So let me ask you this on top of it, because when Cam was still with that New England Patriots team, he had nicknamed Mac Jones Mac and Cheese. And no one thought it was cute. People were like, oh, come on, really? That's not even a good nickname. But he did, like, nicknames typically are anointed. You don't go and pick them out. So do you think people are actually calling him MJ10, or is he trying to take over what was formerly the Mac and Cheese name from Cam Newton and setting his own narrative here?
Another great point. Nobody wants to be mac and cheese. I mean, that's what you eat in college when you have no money, or when you eat in life when you don't have many other choices.
Mac and cheese you
eat mac and cheese
in my pantry.
Yeah. Well, no, and I've got it in my pantry as well. And sometimes in the middle of the night after several beers, it's like, oh, I guess I'll eat some mac and cheese. He may be trying to like get the stench of mac and cheese off of his nickname. But it's a great question. But again, you bring up the huge point. In sports, MJ is Michael Jordan. That's the biggest problem with this.
Yeah. But good luck to you, Mac Jones. I won't be buying anything, but like Chris said, maybe some Patriots fan. All right, finally today, we've got a fun story that involves Tom Brady, but the rest of the Bucs as well. A freshman basketball team in Michigan. It's in the middle of high school basketball right now. They started a text chain within the team to talk about practices and games and scheduling and just keep everybody involved. I think it's a great idea. And as freshmen, I think that's fantastic that they are taking it upon themselves to do that. The problem was the player who created the group chat put in one of the numbers wrong. They did not realize this, and we're starting to get text messages back from a number believing it was their friend. It ended up being one Bucs cornerback, Sean Bunting, who was sending selfies, being like, I'm not supposed to be in this. They continued thinking it was their friend whose number they thought they had correct in there, kept poking fun, being like, oh, you're just messing with us. You're just messing with us. Finally, Sean Bunting FaceTimes them. All of the boys pick up. Again, they're freshmen in high school. He shows them the locker room. He's inside the Bucs locker room. He then passes the phone to one Rob Gronkowski, who says, what's up? With the repeat sign. The boys start freaking out. He then passes the phone to Mike Evans and Richard Sherman and Leonard Fournette, who then holds on to the phone for 10 minutes because at this point, the boys are like, oh my gosh, this is real. Where's Tom Brady? To which Leonard Fournette says, now you're just being greedy. But he's in a meeting. He'll be back in 10 minutes. Tom Brady then takes the phone and asks them what's up. And they all collectively lose their minds.
Wow.
How random right? I mean, how often do you accidentally text a number and then you realize it's the wrong number, and then that's the end of the conversation. You figure out what went wrong. For this to happen, which, by the way, this particular player in Sean Bunting is from Michigan, so that's where the number got mixed up, right? He had that correct area code. He may be changing his number now after these high school freshmen all have his number. But what a cool story, and how random. And Tom Brady went on to say that, it was a fun time to see how excited they were when he popped up on the phone.
More and more, Shannon, we talk about it's hard to dislike Tom Brady, and I have disliked him over the years. And as you know, I flipped on him, and now I enjoy him, and I'm kind of a fan in the same way you're a fan of the Buffalo Bills. I'm a Cowboys fan first and foremost, but I'm enjoying seeing Brady not only perform well on the field at an advanced age, but you look at his social media, his videos he releases, and now this. I mean, he could have thought, I've just got out of a meeting. I'm busy. I'm Tom Brady. I got a lot going on. But to take the time for these kids and just make a memory for them and to make them lose their minds, as you say. And when I was a kid, I'd lose my mind as an adult if that happened. I certainly would have as a high school freshman. What a cool story. And all of them, Leonard Fournette, every one of them, kind enough to have some fun with these kids. That's way cool. That's one of the better stories I've heard lately.
Yeah, the only very, very sad aspect to the story is the kid whose number was mixed up to begin with doesn't end up on this call and misses all of it while his teammates get to share this story. But I just thought it was awesome. There it is today, Salty Shakedown.
Outstanding Salty Shakedown as always. But as you mentioned, Shannon, the kid whose number was misentered, if he doesn't have that number that leads to the random mistake that hooks these other kids up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers players. So, I mean, they have to be indebted to that kid for having the number he had. Now, he did miss out on all the fun, but my gosh, I just wonder if one of the kids had the presence of mind. I mean, on most of our smartphones, I know on my iPhone, if you want to record what's going on the screen, you just, you scroll up and there's a button and you hit it and you're recording what's happening on your iPhone. Right. And kids being more technically savvy, certainly than a lot of adults like me, it would have been great if those, and I'm sure we would see it and it would go viral if they did it. But
there's screenshots.
One of those,
I haven't seen video, but screenshots for sure.
Wow.
And these kids' faces are amazing. I mean, every time the phone gets passed. Oh my God.
That is great.
The guy from the USAA commercials, Rob Gronkowski. You do Tide Pods.
That is tremendous.
Such a crazy
a lot to digest there. And again, Mac Jones, I mean, for a rookie, and, I talked earlier about the New England Patriots and, they're brilliant in that they're keeping the game simple for him. And I'm hearing Josh McDaniels is just like adding a page or two every week to the playbook. It's like, all right, you've mastered all this. You're not turning the ball over. We'll put a couple more pass plays in for you. And Mac Jones is doing a great job. But for him, I don't know. On one level, if I'm his agent, it probably makes sense to do what Tom did with TB12 and be MJ10. But my overriding reaction to it is too soon. Mac Jones, mac and cheese.
Yeah. Good to have the trademark, right? Because you don't want somebody to jump on that before you. But maybe you just hold on to it a little bit. See where the season takes you, because it's not over yet.
See, and again, MJ, he needs to just go with Mac. Like Madonna.
Yeah, Mac 10 or something.
Yeah, there's not a lot of Macs.
Comes after him or something.
There you go. There's that. Yeah. But so there's not a lot of Macs at quarterback that come to mind immediately. MJ, yeah, there's one. And although Michael Jackson too. There's your other MJ. Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson. All right, coming up, James Allen. We'll talk all kinds of football with James Allen. We'll talk college football playoff. We'll talk Lincoln Riley to USC. We will talk Brian Kelly to LSU. We'll talk Dallas Cowboys versus the New Orleans Saints tonight. So lots we can cover, and we will with James Allen. And then later in the 8 o'clock hour, just after 8:30, we will ramp up for tomorrow night's Conference USA Championship game, which is going to happen at the Alamo Dome between UTSA and Western Kentucky. We'll be joined by Andy Everett just after 8:30, the voice of UTSA Athletics. It's all coming your way. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolock is your soundscape stylist. It's the Chris Duel Show. John Williams, have I ever been starstruck? John, I've told the story before. I told the story a lot. It's kind of embarrassing, but I find it funny. My wife and I were at the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay in January of 2001. Tampa Bay, it was Ravens versus Giants. So we're in the big headquarter hotel room or the big hotel building. We're in this hotel, and all kind of media there, all kind of football players. And so we were there, and it's time to leave. We're going somewhere else. So we're walking out of the hotel and going out the door and coming in. As we open the door, we're going out the door, and coming in the door right at us is Roger Staubach, my favorite athlete ever. And I tried to say hello to Roger Staubach, and I was going, "Hey, Roger, how are you?" And what came out of my mouth as he's passing us was something like, I couldn't speak. It was Roger. Oh my God. It was. And my wife is looking at me like, "Are you okay? Are you having a seizure?" As I said, "That's." I composed myself and told her it was Roger Staubach. So that I was starstruck by Roger. What's cool is a couple of years later, you know her, you talk about her. Dawn Hall was my producer for my show over at KTSA. And on my birthday, she arranged for Roger to call in and surprise me. We had Roger on the show. We talked for about 15 minutes on the air. And then at the end, he goes, "You're going to have to come up to my suite at Texas Stadium and see a game." And he was serious. So he and Dawn and my wife and Steve Duraco and his significant, we all went up to Texas Stadium. Cowboys played the Rams, as I recall, and hung out with Roger in his suite, which was mind-blowing. It was cool. So, all right. So there's the answer to your question. Yes, I have been starstruck, and it was Roger Staubach. I have to now mail these spots that I did. So let me do this. I'm going to mail the first batch. All right. See, let's attach these. Now, All right, now I need to edit these spots. Whoa. Okay, so that's
This is the Chris Duel Show.
Warren, yes, he does.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is a football Thursday. It is a beautiful and glorious football Thursday. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, as tonight your Dallas Cowboys, America's team, will try to get back on the winning track. They have lost 3 of their last 4. They will take on the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. Dallas Cowboys will get CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper back. Dallas Cowboys get an upgrade at head coach. Shannon, I think that could be a big deal tonight. Instead of Mike McCarthy, we get Dan Quinn. If Jerry Jones would listen to me, I would just do that deal right now and say, hey, Mike's been a little under the weather. Jerry, just give him the rest of the season off. And let him watch at home and chart games and do analytics for his next team, and let's just go with Dan Quinn. That would work for. I think Dan Quinn has fire and gravitas, and Mike McCarthy, not so much.
Would we keep Dan Quinn also as DC, like have him do both roles?
Yeah, I mean that kind of makes sense because we got Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator. So yeah, I mean. I guess Jerry might not like the idea, but what do you think?
He said he'd do whatever it takes to win a Super Bowl.
Yes.
This might be what it takes.
This might be. And I brought this up subtly, Shannon. If the Cowboys win big tonight over New Orleans and that defense goes crazy and wreaks havoc on the New Orleans Saints, and that defense just looking, instead of him being up in the booth, they see their fearless leader, defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, as acting head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And they go out and they're even more on fire defensively for him to see him out there. I just wonder if subtly, and even not so subtly, but subtly, would it be a little weird for the Cowboys players after a big win with Dan Quinn as acting head coach? Then, oh, here comes Mike McCarthy's back. I don't know. It might be weird. It'll be interesting to see what happens tonight.
McCarthy's a hard guy to read, even on Hard Knocks. It's he's not the rah-rah guy. He's not like a player's coach kind of guy. He's just kind of there. Whereas I think Dan Quinn is a little bit more of the rah-rah guy, so it is a little bit easier to like get up for him. They love to post the every team does the game ball post-game locker room speech after a win, and McCarthy is just so lackluster that like if you say like tonight they win and win big, and Dan Quinn is in there, I mean I can see the team like just giving him the ball.
We just got a message on Facebook Live, actually on YouTube. Jason Paniagua says he now has a new morning show drinking game. Every time Chris says gravitas, you have to take a shot. And he's taking espresso shots. They should be tequila shots, actually, Jason. So, I don't know. Do I say gravitas a lot?
I don't think so.
I say it now and then. I say it when it means something. And before we bring in James Allen, and we'll ask him about this in a second, but you made a huge point, Shannon, and to me it's one of my problems with Mike McCarthy. He's just there. Think of the greatest football coaches ever, including Tom Landry. Now, Landry was stoic, but, I mean, he was there with, like, the steely eyes of a gunfighter who was getting ready to take you out. Think of other coaches. Bill Belichick, is he just there? No. He's calculating. He's a force. He's making things happen. That's one of my problems with Mike McCarthy. In fact, we'll talk all things football. We love talking all things football with this man on the board of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, now on the selection committee of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Texas Aggie football player and alum, the lovely and talented James Allen. James, how are you doing this morning?
was a great salty shakedown, Shannon. That's great. I love the stories. And a shout out
Thank you.
to mom and dad on their new radio at the ranch. I'm doing great.
And I first must apologize to you, James, because I realized Jeremy Kolak, our new soundscape stylist, does not yet know that you have your own specific walk-up music. And I forgot to tell, and right as we're going to this segment, I thought, oh, darn, I forgot to tell him James has his own walk-up music. So please, next time you come on, we'll play it twice, James.
I'll have my people call your people.
Well, and yeah, all right. Well, the thing Shannon and I were talking about tonight, Cowboys Saints. Mike McCarthy is in health and safety protocol for COVID. So defensive coordinator Dan Quinn is going to be on the sideline. Dan Quinn, to me, is fiery. He's a leader. He's all of those personality things that Mike McCarthy really isn't. Mike McCarthy just doesn't strike me as a dynamic leader of men. You've been around the game of football all your life, and now you're around the best of the best coaches and players from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. How do you feel about Mike McCarthy? Does he strike you as a future Hall of Fame coach? Do you think he's effective as a head coach in today's National Football League?
Wow, that's a very tough question to answer, and I'll try to use my gravitas. I don't know what that means. I went to So I'll just answer real quickly. I had a chance, Brett Favre fanatic. I got to sit on the front row. I went to go see. I took a friend of mine, this guy. He wanted to meet Brett Favre. We got to see the front row, 50-yard line, right behind Brett, and he knew we were there. It was actually the Lambeau family tickets, and we're sitting there, and I'm watching Mike McCarthy, and Brett. It's just very unimpressive. As you know, Brett Favre should have taken the Super Bowl. As you know, the Saints, which I love, admitted they did the bounty thing, and Vilma crawled on his knees and took out Brett's knees, and they should have gone to the Super Bowl and lost at the last minute. And then the next year they told Brett over at the summer, McCarthy says, you're going to be the backup. And he goes, hey, do I get a chance? And I just don't like the way he handled it. He's not really a player's coach. He's not a Dick Vermeil. He's not a Belichick on the intense end. You get a motivational guy. I will say to his defense, so no, I don't think he's a Hall of Fame coach. As I've told y'all guys forever, every team has a culture, and the culture at Dallas Cowboys, to my good friend and board member, who I love, and he's so great to me, Jerry Jones. Jerry's the last stop on all decisions coaching, and he has hired, since he hired his good friend and Hall of Famer Jimmy Johnson, he's always hired people that are yes men. So I think, to Mike's defense, I mean, if you're under that regime, when you go to Cowboys, you know that a lot of decisions are going to be made for you. So, but he is not that guy. The defensive coordinator, I love. Cowboys are on a 3-game slide. Saints are on a 4-game slide. I really hope Quinn does kind of jack them up. I think they're going to take the Saints because the Saints' defense and everything else is kind of lacking, and they can't stop the run. But it's a very germane game for the culture in the locker room. I've said before, Cowboys will win they're one of the easiest ones. They're going to win, but are they really a playoff potential team? And that's, I know we're going to say playoffs, but
playoffs.
Yeah, thank you. And then, so that's a long way. I'm not a fan. I saw him up and close when he at the Packers a couple times, and he's just, I've never been a fan of him for all the reasons you said, and that's kind of a tightest answer I can do on radio, and talking fast kind of cover a lot of dimensions to that question.
All right, so we know Mike McCarthy out tonight. Dan Quinn going to be at the helm. Chris and I were kind of debating before you joined us, so I want to get your take on it. Cowboys they blow out the Saints. They look great on both sides of the ball. Does that spell trouble for Mike McCarthy and his future as the Dallas head coach?
Knowing Jerry, yeah, I will. Jerry's pretty tough on that. And, the Saints, especially, the Saints, I don't think Kamara's coming back yet. And he was a big part of their offense. Ingram, and Ty Montgomery coming back, and their defense is not well. If they match up against the Saints so good, their defensive backs, except for maybe Marshawn Lattimore, who did a pretty good job on Amari Cooper before, their defensive backs are not good. Their defense is not good. And their offense is hobbling. If they don't do that, I think the Jerry's obviously going to wait till the end of the season, but it's going to be a telltale sign in the locker room if the Saints, who have lost, 4 straight, beat the Cowboys. You know, it's the culture in that locker room is going to be pretty tough, especially if he doled out these contracts to Ezekiel and Dak, which could have been avoided and put more money to other people. It's going to be a cause. It's going to be a little problem for them for the next couple of years if they don't figure this formula out.
Yeah, hopefully the Cowboys do what they should do tonight and win handily, and we can start getting optimistic again about the Dallas Cowboys. He's James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And James, speaking of coaching changes, my goodness, what a week in college football. In 2 days, in 24 hours, you had Lincoln Riley going from Oklahoma to USC, and then Brian Kelly, 24 hours later, says, hold my beer, and he goes from Notre Dame to LSU. Coach of your football team, Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M, he was being rumored for the LSU job. Of course, he shot those rumors down. How do you feel about the dynamics now in college football, these big blue blood institutions like a USC and an LSU going big and hiring a big-time coach away from another big-time university?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, fight on USC. I mean, it's one of the most storied teams in college football. Yes, they got the second death penalty ever, second to SMU because of the Reggie Bush thing. I don't want to go on a sidebar. Not fair that Cam Newton did the same thing. His parents admitted it. Nothing happened to him. But and I don't like it that the coaches get to run off and leave the USC in shambles, which they did for years. But most people don't know USC has. I think they're tied with Notre. USC has more modern day Pro Football Hall of Famers from that school than any other school in history. I mean, that is a legendary school. The coach is kind of interesting. Kelly going to LSU. You know, I don't want to bring up another subject. I'm so tired of watching Wake Forest, Cincinnati. You know, all these teams that play one team a year get in the top 10 over. If you go to the SEC, go play. I mean, those teams couldn't touch Ole Miss, Mississippi, Alabama, Auburn, and even A&M. But nevertheless, I think Kelly's making a big mistake. Notre Dame, he has an easy schedule. I love all my Catholic brothers, and I love Notre Dame. By the way, they're tied with USC for those Hall of Famers. However, they don't have an intense schedule, and Kelly's going to learn the hard way, much like Sumlin did when he went to A&M. The SEC is no joke, and you're battling from the top coaches, arguably, especially on the conference on the west side, well, on both sides of the ball. And I think Kelly, I don't see that. I understand why LSU did that, but LSU's been very reactionary. I think getting rid of their last coach who was loved by the Cajuns was a big mistake. He just won the national championship a couple of years ago. So I think LSU's getting into, no offense to the University of Texas thing, but they're getting into this thing like every couple of years, let's change the thing. And you can't build a culture like that. And so that's, but I think fight on. USC needs something. They definitely have, everybody wants to play there, and they're surviving the death penalty. SMU really has never come out from theirs. And, a lot of the Hall of Famers are kind of rooting for USC to do that. So it's an interesting pick by them, but they have to do something. And I'm not a big fan of the Kelly for him personally, or the LSU program, what they did on their coaching thing.
James, I can already see Chris wearing a Love Lincoln shirt next year that he gets custom made.
Oh, yeah.
With so many other shirts. It'll be great.
Land of
James,
Lincoln.
You're so great. You're so great to Chris and I and sharing the Pro Football Hall of Fame news before anyone else gets it. And last week, you sent us the list of 26 modern era players named as semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2022. You, this time around, are on that selection committee. So I wanted to ask you, does it feel more real now that this list is here for you to take into consideration?
Yeah, I would normally say no, but I would be, I think my mom would call the radio station and say he's lying. Shannon, it does feel more real. And in our next meeting, we just finished up some stuff, and our next meeting is January 18th, which we pare down to the actual finalists. And then, of course, February 10th, 9th will be locked up, then the 10th, and we'll announce the ones that won. So, yeah, Shannon, it really does. I'm trying to, as I've told you and Chris, when I got put on the advisory board, the big board, and everything else, my key is I just shut up and like I told you before, Lincoln said, it's better be thought a fool than open your mouth and prove everyone right. Enjoy the show. So yes, Shannon, it is like being a little kid, kind of like that great story you talked about those kids and getting a hold of all those players over on the Patriots. That's how I feel. So yes, it's making it more real.
Very, very cool. We're very excited for you, and it is well deserved that you are now part of that selection committee. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I know James, we're bouncing back and forth from pro to college, but it's kind of what we do with you. We love talking all levels of football with you, but I do have to ask you, and I think it's a storyline that will be played out this weekend in college football. Alabama will lose to Georgia. Now, granted, I'm probably foolish forever going against Nick Saban, even though Georgia's the favorite in that game. But let's assume then Georgia beats Alabama. Alabama will have 2 losses. I am also going to assume that Oklahoma State, Jeremy's football team, is going to beat Baylor. If Alabama loses to Georgia and has 2 losses, and Oklahoma State has 1 loss, is it fair to do what we expect them to do with they so often is, oh, well, that's Alabama, and oh, they played Georgia, so hey, Alabama with 2 losses is in the playoff, and Oklahoma State is not with 1. A, how do you think that will play out? And B, would it be fair, let's say Alabama loses by 7 to Georgia, for people to go, well, they played a good game against Georgia, so let's put them in the playoff?
Wow. My mom and dad will tell you, I'm so frustrated with this ranking system because I'm a big fan of strength of schedule. I do like what Clemson did. They put Georgia on the map. Clemson, no offense to Ohio State, Michigan. They played their one big game. Imagine the SEC. If you're in the conference where A&M is, you got to play Alabama. Okay. Then you got to beat Auburn. Then you got to play Ole Miss. You got to play Mississippi State. It's just nonstop. And that's what I'm very disingenuous with the whole thing. I do believe, and with a lot of controversy, if that happens, Alabama could beat Oklahoma State every day and slice on Sunday. I really believe that, just like Cincinnati and the rest of those guys up there. So it's not, the whole thing is not fair because of strength of schedule. I don't think the records really reflect, I think the records should be very loosely weighted, to be candidly. I think but they're not, and for political reasons, they're not doing it. So politically, they may put Oklahoma State in because the ranking system has definitely shown. Now we talked about the strength of schedule. I think the NCAA said they were going to start worrying about that, and they revamped everything else. But candidly, look at the rankings. You think Cincinnati can beat? I think University of Texas can beat Cincinnati. I'm not saying that's a negative. I'm just saying University of Texas is not high ranked. Talent for talent, or Wake Forest. And no offense to Michigan and Ohio State. Politically, I think Oklahoma State would get in, but from somebody, if I had to bet, and I don't bet on football, it's tough to beat, until you beat Alabama, until you beat Tom Brady, it's tough to knock them off the hip because Alabama plays all those teams we just talked about. Tell me who Oklahoma State played equal to Auburn, Mississippi, Ole Miss, and even A&M. Does that make sense? So
no, it makes sense.
Yeah. I'm going to fight Jeremy. I'm sorry to do that to you, but strictly from a strength of schedule, that's where we spend our time. So,
Jeremy, I want to give you an opportunity to respond. He says, who has Oklahoma State played? I would say they beat Oklahoma, and they beat Texas, and they play Iowa State. How would you respond to Mr. James Allen thoroughly dissing your beloved Oklahoma State Cowboys?
Well, I would have to go into the actual stats and whatnot, but I am pretty sure, fairly confident that Oklahoma State has a tougher strength of schedule than Alabama this year.
Whoa!
Could be wrong, but I'm
wow. Well, Chris is trying to get us against each other, and I will tell you, Jeremy. Statistically, I get it. It's an easier conference, but strength of schedule. The good news is that even my University of Texas fans that went to the school and big fans will tell you they're hoping they don't end up in the division, but they hope they go into the East instead of the West because Georgia does have it easier. But I think when you look at Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, A&M, even lowly LSU and all those other teams, those are, no offense to Oklahoma and University of Texas, they're just not the same. And well, let me leave you with this thought. How about this? Imagine as a football player in college, you get beat up by Alabama, and next week you got to play Auburn. Then you got to play Ole Miss. Then you got to play Mississippi State. There's no rest.
Well, James, you're leaving it. Didn't Alabama play Samson? Did Alabama always schedules 1 or 2 cupcakes?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they did. They always do that. A&M did Prairie View A&M.
All right, and you beat them like 73-10. It was woo. You taught Prairie View a lesson. I'll tell you that.
I will say this in defense, and we'll get off the subject. What A&M, they all do cupcakes. Clemson, Notre Dame, USC.
USC does not do cupcakes. Go look at their schedule. Go and I don't think Texas does either. I'm just saying. All right.
I'm so excited. You're excited about USC. You're really jacked up. I like that.
Oh gosh, I'm over the moon.
It's a fair question. I'm about strength of schedule, and if Oklahoma State gets in, I'm good with that. In Alabama, I don't like Cincinnati and some of those other schools up there. But yeah, everybody has a cupcake. I mean, you're right. USC is very traditional, but all the other schools, and A&M has defended Prairie View because it's an A&M school and they make millions off of it. But that doesn't matter. It is what it is. But I'm just saying, I think a strength of schedule should be more weighted. But we are with what we are, and we are within. And if that's the case, if you take out strength of schedule, Oklahoma State should win over Alabama.
All right, James Allen, I am late for a break, but it was outstanding as always, and I love instigating a fight between you and Jeremy. That we'll have to see if we can carry that over. James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, always outstanding, sir. Have yourself a great football weekend. Thanks so much for coming on.
Fight them, horns. I know what Oklahoma State does in Gigabaggies. I'll have a great weekend.
I think it's what is Oklahoma State mullet them or what is it, Jeremy? Go Pokes. You guys need to revamp that. All right, we are late for a break. Quick break. Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA football. We'll talk about tomorrow night's Conference USA Championship game next on the Chris Duel Show. That was fun. David, I got that too late, man. I would have done that, and I was already overtime with James on that. Yeah, I mean, you look at Alabama always plays somebody ridiculous like Samford, not Stanford, Samford, and USC, and I think you can even argue Texas do not have cupcakes, certainly to that level. Now, next year, Texas has UTSA. That's going to be fascinating. When they first put that on the schedule several years ago, some people could have thought, wow, Texas is getting a cupcake in UTSA. They play, I think, in September of next year. That's going to be pretty amazing. Amber / Foamfoot 420 with a prediction. Cowboys will win 28-14 tonight. I hope you are correct. Yeah, I've got to edit one more spot and send it here. Louisa, I totally agree. Not only is UTSA no cupcake, I mean, they're turning into the team that nobody wants to play. No Power 5 team, I would think, would want to play UTSA. They're becoming kind of modern day Appalachian State, which beat Michigan famously a number of years ago. Okay, I need to send this out. Where is this going? Shonda. Okay.
At LASIK Plus, we literally have thousands of five-star reviews. Our patients love the service LASIK Plus provides and the outcomes. So we decided to check in on some of our reviewers. Hi, are you Sarah _34?
Yeah.
I'm from LASIK Plus. We just wanted to thank you for giving LASIK Plus a 5-star review.
Oh, they were great. I got a customized treatment plan, and they just made it all so easy. My neighbor was right. LASIK Plus is the best.
Oh, so your neighbor was a patient too?
Yeah, Frank.
Frank Doggy Dog 778?
Maybe.
He's our next stop.
At LASIK Plus, we're now offering 20% off LASIK with our latest Wavelight laser when treated in December. Visit mylasicoffer.com. LASIK Plus, the patient's choice for LASIK. Must mention this promotion and be treated in December of 2021 to qualify. 20% off standard price of Wavelight procedure cannot be combined with any other offers. Go to mylasicoffer.com for details.
Andy Everett is on the phone line. Leo Zambrano writes, and by the way, the Texas Longhorn schedule was released yesterday. Texas will pay UTSA $1.4 million to have the privilege of losing to the Roadrunners. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be a heck of a game for both schools and a heck of an opportunity for UTSA. See, where's my Andy Everett photo? There he is. And that is at 6 o'clock tomorrow, correct? Double check. Yeah. Here we go.
Back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
Jeremy now taking requests. I saw somebody suggest the theme from Shaft. Who will get the Shaft tomorrow night at the Alamo Dome in the Conference USA Championship game? UTSA versus Western Kentucky. These two teams had a shootout earlier in the season. It will not be easy for either team. Let's talk about it with the voice of UTSA Athletics, Andy Everett. Andy, a day away from the championship game. How you feeling this morning?
Well, it's an exciting time, and it should be I think it's going to be another shootout. I saw somebody told me the other day the line was 72 for the over and under. That could be about mid-third quarter totals right there. So I think you're going to be entertained, and you're going to see the best passing offense that very few teams have been able to stop. They've scored over 50 points in the last few games, and Jeff Traylor's just hoping that they make a mistake or two and stay in the 40s, and UTSA can get in the 50s and win the game.
Andy, we've been saying it all season how historic what UTSA has achieved and will continue to achieve with a potential win tomorrow night and then what they could do in a bowl game. But as someone who's been riding this wave very closely as you have, do you feel it, or do you think it won't really hit you until, and even the players and the coaching staff and the school itself, until after the season is said and done and you can really look back on just what kind of achievement this is?
Well, I don't think anybody understands or can measure how disappointed the players are and even the coaches are in the performance that they had last week at North Texas, because an undefeated season was in their grasp, and the stars just didn't align right. They didn't play well. They had a bad day, and they feel like they let down the entire city more than they do themselves. They think they let down their students, and they let down their administrators and their directors, and they're really upset at themselves for not playing better. And there's no rhyme or reason why they played that way. They just did. But I think whether it's now or in a couple of weeks or whenever, when you look at the fact that this team has won 11 games and they're only in their 11th season of football, that's beyond any expectation that anybody ever set. But now it's kind of like that Nick Saban conference last week where he was criticizing the poll guy, the people that do the polls for dropping Alabama from 2 to 3 because they didn't beat X team by X amount of points. Well, now it's 11-1, and so next year and for previous year or future years, no one's going to be satisfied with 11 wins. And there's only 7 other teams in Division I football that only have 1 loss. So UTSA is in some pretty good company, and now they have an opportunity to win a conference championship. And I've always said this about unless you're the SEC champion, the ACC champion, the Big Ten, Pac-12, and Big 12 champions, you're not playing for a national championship ever. Cincinnati may not even get in. Even if they win, there's still a possibility that they could be left out of the Final Four. And if they do get in, it would be historic on that part for a non-Power 5 conference to get into the championship Final Four. So you're playing for a conference championship, and that's what UTSA is playing for. And until the athletic budget's $150 million, and they're playing in another conference that qualifies for those things, this is really, really good for what they've done. And I think everyone should be extremely proud, whether you're a player or a fan or whatever your affiliation is towards UTSA.
He's Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics. And Andy, to your point, the 11-win season, 11-1 in the regular season. I mean, Shannon and I talked to you when Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine came out, and they predicted UTSA would go 10-2, and it blew my mind just to think if that were even possible to win 10 games. And I got to be honest with you, Andy, I didn't think so. I thought 9-3, 8-4. But 10-2, are you kidding me? And here they exceed that. Now you talk about, Andy, how let down the team is, how they feel, they let down the fan base, they let down the city. How dangerous do you think it is? Because, I mean, as fans, we all bought into, oh, my God, all we got to do is beat North Texas, and UTSA is going to have a perfect season. And I know Jeff Traylor, who you had on last night, I was listening to the Jeff Traylor show from the Sandbox on Ticket 760 last night. I know he keeps that team very focused and disciplined, and there's probably no better leader of young men than Jeff Traylor. I'm a huge fan of who he is and what he does, but human nature, I mean, how concerned are you about a letdown in this game? Because you lost in Denton, because you feel like you blew an opportunity for the perfect season, doesn't that necessarily create the possibility of a letdown in this game?
I don't think they'll be let down. I've been at practice. I think they're mad. I think they're going to play angry, and I think they're playing with a good angry. I don't think there'll be any letdown. I don't think there'll be any lack of effort. I don't think there'll be any lack of trying. Now, that said, Western Kentucky might be better, and Western Kentucky has been better than any team it's played by a lot. For that team to go into Marshall, which I think is rated as the 5th best home field advantage in all of college football, and hang 52 or 3 or whatever they scored on them. I thought they would beat Marshall. I didn't think they'd blow them out. And they humiliated Marshall in their own field. And Marshall's not a bad football team. I think they won 8 or 9 games this year too. So that says a lot about them. And just because you try really hard and you work hard, and you don't let down, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win the game. But I think if you listen to the show last night, Jeff made it pretty clear that this football team is more than focused. He thinks the triangle is ready to roll. There's not going to be a letdown, and they're going to play with every ounce of energy they have to win this game. And that's who they are and how they're coached and the character of the people that they are. And trying to stop Bailey Zappi, Indiana did it, and to a certain extent, Army was able to run the clock like they always do against every team with their running game, and they hung 38 at Michigan State, which isn't a bad football team either. And I think a 45-38 loss or something like that. So as far as the 10-2, going back to Dave Campbell, they said that UTSA would lose at Western Kentucky and Memphis. They never thought that UTSA would lose at North Texas, nor did anybody else that follows this team. But again, every team has a bad day. And that was their bad day, and now we hope that that's behind them and they can focus on this game tomorrow night.
And he got to talk some golf with you because huge news out of the Tiger Woods camp. He, of course, in the Bahamas hosting his Hero tournament this weekend and made the announcement that, he does plan to play golf again, just never full time. It won't be like it used to be, but did say he hopes to get to a couple of tournaments. What tournaments do you think he might put on his calendar in the future? And, what was your takeaway from that presser that he had?
Well, I think what he's basically saying is, and I don't think people realize what professional golfers go through. In their training and the regimens that they go through to play the PGA Tour are not unlike an NFL player getting ready for the NFL season, or an NBA player who should be ready to go when the training camp rolls around. Some are not, but most are. And the practice schedule, he said, there's no way I can practice to play a full schedule because that requires. His routine when he was young was wake up in the morning, run 4 miles, go to the gym, go get golf balls, play 18 holes, go run 4 more miles, go back to the gym, go chip and putt, somewhere in there working some meals, and then have his day done at 7:30 at night, and then do it again the next day. And his body is not going to allow him to do that. Even before he had his leg injury, if he had an 8 o'clock tee time, he was waking up at 3:30 in the morning to go through all the routine and stretching and all that he required for him to be able to just go warm up and then go to the first tee and play. So if I had to guess what his future schedule will be, I think most people know the tournaments he likes the most. He'll like San Diego. He'll play Los Angeles when he can because his foundation is a part of that tournament. Maybe Bay Hill and or the Players Championship in March, Augusta in April, the Memorial in May. If he qualifies for the U.S. Open, which I'm sure he does, I think he's got a lifetime extension there. The Open Championship I know is high on his radar because he's at St. Andrews this year. We may not see him until then. And then if there's anything left over for him to play in August, he may not ever qualify for the FedEx Cup again. So you may see him play 7, 8 rounds tournaments. Maybe work in a ninth one here or there, play a silly season event or two in the fall, and that'll be his schedule. And so it's a lot different animal to try to play on the PGA Tour full time. I had a conversation on the golf show several years ago with Greg Norman. And so you just wake up some mornings when you turn 50 and you go, I don't want to do this anymore. It's just too much work and your body hurts too much. You have to take an ice bath every day. And that's why athletes kind of go, and the Champions Tour offers some sanctuary for those who want to continue their careers. I don't think we'll see Tiger play very many senior tour events unless they're majors.
Andy Everett will have the call tomorrow night as UTSA plays in the Conference USA Championship game at the Alamo Dome. Kickoff at 6 o'clock. That means pregame on Ticket 760 tomorrow at 4. And if you're outside San Antonio, you can certainly access that broadcast on the iHeart Radio app. Andy, best of luck to UTSA tomorrow night. It's a huge one. Hopefully just the beginning of many more big games to come for the UTSA Roadrunners. Have a great call tomorrow night, and thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
You got it.
All right, 4 o'clock tomorrow for pregame. If you're going to the game and tailgating, of course, be cranking Andy and company on Ticket 760 with pregame beginning at 4. Shannon, tonight, Dallas Cowboys. We've talked a lot about the Cowboys throughout the morning. Taysom Hill will be at quarterback, at least to start tonight, for the New Orleans Saints. Cowboys expected to have Amari Cooper back and CD Lamb back. I have had a bad feeling about this, and you earlier said you wonder why. I think it's just PTSD from being a Cowboys fan since ever since they, Jimmy left, and now I've been a Cowboy fan since the 60s, but just all the ways they have disappointed us throughout the years. Hopefully I'm just, gun shy after losing 3 out of 4, but you have a good feeling about tonight?
I do, except I think some of your doubt maybe creeped into our Twitter voters this morning, because we did ask on Twitter, Ticket 760 AM 1300 The Zone, who wins tonight. Earlier in the show, it was about 79% Dallas Cowboys. It's gone down to 66% Dallas Cowboys.
Huh. Sean Payton, man, even though the Saints aren't what they used to be, Sean Payton and the Saints in their house, and especially against the Cowboys, where I think he takes extra joy in beating Jerry Jones. Ooh. So anyway, but I'm going to be multitasking, Shannon. We got Spurs tonight as well from Portland. Tip off just after 9 o'clock, about 9:10. Pregame on that one on 1200 WOAI at 8:30 with Bill Schoening. Shannon, outstanding as always. May we be celebrating a Cowboy victory in here tomorrow.
Please.
Please. Otherwise, I'm going to be I'm going to be sleep deprived and bitter tomorrow if the Cowboys lose. Jeremy, as always, great job, man. You rock.
Thank you. Thanks for having me as always. And let's do it again tomorrow.
And you didn't back down to James Allen. I like that.
No, it was intimidating, but
you were ready to go blow for blow with that Aggie dissing Oklahoma State. All right. Our thanks to the great James Allen. He was fun, as always, this morning from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Andy Everett as well. What a night. Cowboys, Saints, and the Spurs go for 3 in a row at Portland. This is going to be a fun one. Enjoy your Thursday. We'll see you in 21 hours. Adios, amigos. Woo! Woo! All right, y'all. Until tomorrow. Thank you, Ralph. Happy birthday, Ralph Balderas. That is a late night West Coast Spurs game tonight, so I will be just a little bit sleep deprived tomorrow. So I hope the Cowboys win, because if not, I'll be extra cranky tomorrow. Nobody needs that. I do see Foam Foot 420, and I don't know that it'll be January 8th, but we will certainly shoot for January. I haven't looked at any kind of a calendar yet, but I like the idea. I think it's a cool idea. I know Jason and Amber and some others want to do that. I love the idea. So, yeah, we got to certainly figure out a way to do it when Shannon is here, or do it north of San Antonio. So we'll take a look at that. Fernando, Luisa, Ralph, just some of the names I see in here recently. Robert Browning, welcome in. We will bid you all farewell. Have a great Thursday. Go Cowboys, go Spurs, and we will see you tomorrow. As always, thanks for being here. We do appreciate it. Enjoy your Thursday.